Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's your favorite time of the week once again. It's Keepin It Rio time, and this is episode 235 of your favorite podcast. I am ecstatic for today's guest. This gentleman was actually referred to me by a friend in the roofing industry over in Bryan, Texas, and we've just spent the last 5 minutes talking football, so I know we're going to have a great conversation today. Not going to be about football in the least. So, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me the honor of welcoming tonight's guest, Luis Martinez Jr., to the show. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you mentioned our connection. It's great that something bad, a hailstorm, having to get a new roof no one wants to deal with, has been able to turn into a positive outcome to be able to connect and hopefully share some of the work we're doing with Whiskey Valor.
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do, is we're here to hear your story, and you've got quite the backdrop for this episode today. So I think there's going to be a good bit to learn here, and I think it's going to be informative, entertaining, and I think we're going to have some fun. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll kick this episode off and just kind of see where the conversation takes us.
Yes, sir. So my name is Luis Martinez Jr. I grew up in a Navy family. My dad served 33 years. I'm 34, and he's been retired for about 3 years. So he was in the Navy before I was born. I grew up around it. So I always knew I wanted to join the military. Is a thing that was just, a part of our life, daily life. Thought I would join the Navy, but they didn't give me the job, or weren't trying to get me into the job that I preferred. Ended up going Marine Corps, which was a decision I don't regret at all. I love being a Marine. Served 5 years as a geospatial intelligence analyst. Very fancy word for it. I made maps and tactical decision aids. Great time. Got to learn a bunch, travel, and fortunately met my wife. She's a Marine veteran as well. So we met there. Been married about 8 years now. We have a 4-year-old who will be 5 in about a week. And then we just had a son born on May 22nd of this year. So going through the parenting, the drama, and trying to learn how to handle a baby all over again. I thought it would be easier this time, but I guess I forgot everything we did the first time.
Yeah, I think the rules change every time. So that is awesome. And I'm super excited to hear about this, because I know that this is something that's very personal to you, just based off the history that you just gave us in the last minute. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and we'll just continue to promote and do the best we can to get as many people to see what you got going on here.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. So I'm the founder and executive director of Whiskey Valor Foundation. We use single barrels of bourbon and whiskey to raise funds and awareness, support veterans and their families, while promoting mental health and responsible drinking initiatives. Some people are like, "What? He's trying to give alcohol to vets." We decided to go about the issue with alcohol in the veteran community and military community differently. If I tell a service member, especially our younger ones, don't do something, they're going to kind of block me out and go do it anyway. So we decided, let's meet them where they're at, give them the tools to do so responsibly. And if someone is struggling, step in with resources so they're no longer leaning on alcohol during a difficult time.
Man, I respect that tremendously, because I totally understand what you're saying. I'm not in the military, but I understand that, there's a certain mentality that you have. And like you say, when someone says, "Hey, you shouldn't be doing this," or "You shouldn't be doing that," never hear shouldn't. And it's always be doing that. And I think it's very respectful and responsible to say, "Okay, look, we're not going to try to teach you, or we're not going to try to shove this down your throat. If you want to do this, we want to provide you with safety. We want to provide you with the ability to not get into some kind of crazy trouble." So talk a little bit about the foundation itself and kind of how this all came about.
Yeah, so we're just over a year old. We were founded in August 9th of 2024. So about a year and a month and a half old.
Nice.
And it started off, a little selfishly, hey, this is a way for me to drink whiskey with my vet buddies, and then we'll raise money and help some other veteran service organizations. But as we started doing it and talking, having very surprisingly very thoughtful conversations over a pour of whiskey, we realized we can have more than just having whiskey together. We can make an impact. We can help those who've come after us and those who've served before us. And that's when we decided to go down the mindful drinking, being responsible. And in the year that we've been around, it's crazy to think where we are today. But last night we just had our first rideshare program. So we have a rideshare initiative And because we're new, still fundraising, we do very specific events. We use Uber, and then we'll put like, hey, from 6 to 10, anybody who's at this event gets a $10 voucher towards their Uber home, because we want to encourage responsible drinking and not have people drink and drive. But my ultimate goal is, when we have millions of dollars raised, to make great impact, is if a veteran or service member has one too many in the nation, we're going to pay for their full Uber to get them home, so we can eliminate DUIs in the military community.
I love that. And I think that it's something that just speaks volumes to your character as a person, looking to help as many people as you can, and understanding that sometimes the veterans don't get the treatment that they deserve for what they actually sacrifice for us. And I know that along with that comes, certain things. I have a very, very good client that I have for my roofing company that was in the military, and he has PTSD. And he tells me, it's very difficult sometimes, because things that you don't expect can sometimes, give you a little bit of a different feeling about things, and it puts you in a different mindset. So being able to help as many people as you can, I think that is just absolutely commendable. And I'd love to hear about, like you said, this is just getting started. So you're in the fundraising aspect of the business, but give me a little bit about, how this has gone from the time you decided this concept is going to be a thing, you decided to put the wheels in motion, and now you're, just a little over a year in. Let's talk about your journey so far from start to the 1 year mark.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable is probably the best way to describe it, in the best sense possible. What I thought was a crazy idea, and probably would get laughed out of some of the rooms, stepping into. Once I kind of, explained what the intent was and where we're trying to go, people saw the vision. And I'm fortunate enough that I have some friends who believe enough in me, or maybe are as crazy as I am, to like, oh, maybe this could work, and open up their network. And in our short time, we've had some great partnerships so far. Our first barrel pick was for an organization that I used while I was at Texas A&M. So they helped me. It's called VetMap. They help veterans identify their strengths and purpose, so that way you have a more directed path and you know where you're headed. And when I was feeling kind of lost with myself, moved to the DC area, got a great job, bought the house, bought the nice car, but I was feeling empty, and I, couldn't figure out why. And fortunately enough, I went back to the work I did with VetMap, and I realized it's because even though I had the nice things, it didn't align with my purpose. And that's where I did some soul searching there. And that's when I decided to start Whiskey Valor. So I don't get paid at Whiskey Valor. I'm actually, if anything, I'm probably losing money, putting up a lot of money into getting things going. But I have so much fun building this thing and meeting veterans and hearing their stories that I wouldn't trade it for the world. So it's been great to see where it's going, but the partnerships that we've developed, we just did a barrel pick for the Travis Manion Foundation. They're a huge national organization that will release that for the Army Navy game. So that's a huge one. And then we have a couple other larger partnerships developing. Don't want to say anything until they're finalized, but it's been great to see the veteran community rally around what we're trying to do and see the long-term vision, and not get caught behind the fact that we're drinking whiskey with veterans.
Right. And I love that. I think that sometimes you have to just kind of say, you know what, that is what it is. And I appreciate the fact that you don't want veterans to go out and, get a DUI, get drunk, get into a fight, have any kind of issue out there publicly. So, hey, we're going to help you guys out. And even just being short into the life cycle of your foundation, I'm sure you've had the ability to sit down and chat with many different veterans. And I'd love to hear a little bit about your experiences there, and kind of if maybe there was a moment where one person stands out to you to where you realized in that moment, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I would say there's probably three separate occasions that I can remember off the top of my head. One is talking to a buddy I served with, and who had gotten in a little bit of trouble because of alcohol when he was in. But him saying, hey, man, like if this was around, probably would have made some of the decisions I made, right? So thinking in hindsight of things that I've been around. Another one who had recently separated from the military, so struggling with some identity issues of now being a civilian, not having that service member title attached to his name. And I was telling him about where we're headed, and he was like, hey, like I've almost made a mistake. He's like, fortunately, things didn't, go negative, But had I known Whiskey Valor could provide this service, I would have never even been down the path of possibly something bad happening. And then the most impactful one for me, which happened probably about 3 weeks ago, met a woman, she's probably old enough to be my mom. We're at an event and telling her what we're doing, and in the nicest way possible. She like grabs my hand and is like, "Where were you 4 years ago?" And I was like, "Oh man, I don't know what you're talking about. We're only a year old, so we weren't in existence." And she was kind of share a story that her son committed suicide, and he was struggling with alcohol because he didn't have community, and he was just kind of leaning towards alcohol during his rough moments. And it was hearing her story and saying, like, had you been here, maybe things would have been different because he would have had that community and that organization to lean on when he was struggling at his worst.
Yeah, I mean that right there that's why you're doing what you're doing. And I had a guy on a couple weeks ago that we were kind of talking about this transformation from being in the military back into civilian life, and you just hit the nail on the head. There are identity issues. You go from being one thing to basically something completely different, and it can be very shocking and jarring. And there sometimes are those feelings where nobody around me can relate. The family can't relate to me. So what do? You start, doing the habitual things that are not good, but it's the only way to deal with it in some cases. So I think it's awesome that a guy like you decides, hey, this is something that I have been basically, drawn into doing because I believe it's my sole purpose. Starting a foundation, getting this stuff underway, going out seeking the people that can help you continue to expand, and most importantly, meeting those people along the way that you are helping. It's an amazing journey. And I guess now you're into it. You're still building. Obviously, you're going to end up taking over the entire country, and you're going to have something huge a couple years from now. But in this moment, is it something that when you're fully focused, you're committed, you're building something amazing, do you ever get to the point where you feel like you're overwhelmed and being, still kind of a small one man, and maybe you've got a couple people helping you along the way, but a small team? Do you ever see that there's going to be the potential for you to start adding people on, and how exponentially quick it can grow?
Yes. If you had told me a year ago we'd be at the point we are today, I'd like, there's no way. Like, there's no way for us to grow that fast. I've been fortunate to be in a point where I'm able to work on this, being on paternity leave, been able to work on it, being home from work. But we are very closely getting to the point where Luis is not going to be able to do the majority of the work anymore. He's going to have to bring on other folks, hopefully that, believe in the mission, because we're just, we're doing it for volunteer hours essentially at this point. But the goal is to one day have a paid staff. I'd love to get paid to do this my full-time job, because I think for having the impact we're having now and our free time, I couldn't imagine if this was our devoted, 9 to 5, to be able to have even greater impact. But it's sometimes very surreal, and there are days where that it's like, oh man, I don't know, I stayed up very late hours, away from the family, traveling on this trip. Was it worth it? And usually, I don't know if it's just divine timing. Whenever I'm like, oh, I don't know, like this, maybe I should slow down, I'll get an email or a phone call from some big partner that I've been wanting to make something happen with. And that's like the thing that refuels me, like, okay, hey, all the hard work and the sacrifices are worth it because people are noticing it, and there's actually, fruit from my labor coming along the way.
I love that. And, if you don't have self-doubt, at least 15, 20 times a day, you're not doing it right. And I know that for a fact, and we all go through those moments where it's like, man, is all this work and all this effort that nobody really sees, is it really worth it to me? I could go sit on the couch and watch a game. I could hang out, but I'm dedicating my entire life to this one mission that I've decided is going to be my thing. And kudos to you, because like I say, it's completely normal to question it on a daily basis. But to continue moving forward with the conviction that you have, it really shows, hey, this guy's serious. He's not going to give up, and it's going to end up being hugely successful. And I love what you just said about, right when you feel down, you get a partner or a potential partner that sends you an email. I want to dig in a little bit about that aspect of this as well. Going out, finding people who can also see your vision and want to represent it, whether it be financially or, through affiliations of whatever sort. What's it like with a brand new foundation going out and actually trying to find these people?
Yeah, so there's two sides for that coin with what we've been on. I'm very fortunate enough that in my time before Whiskey Valor, I did a lot of volunteer work with some great organizations. So kind of already being known within their organization, having those connections gave me a little bit of a head start when trying to build a partnership with them. So that's been very helpful. And it was one of those things that if you had, again, asked me 18 months ago, would you ever start a nonprofit? I'm like, no, why would I ever do that? I spent enough time with them. So they were very genuine relationships, and they were part of the development from the beginning. So they got to see where it's going, where it's come. So it's helped there. But with the ones I haven't had relationships, so depending on what space they're in, it can get a little difficult to get them to see it. But usually what I tell them is like, hey, you drink whiskey, right? Or you drink alcohol? And then sometimes they say no. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to change how I'm going about this conversation. But a lot of people drink alcohol, and we know people are doing it. We just want to make sure they're doing it responsibly. And I think people hear Whiskey Valor and us drinking with vets, and they assume that we're just going to go out and get wasted. Like, hey, let's get all the alcohol. Let's drink as much as we can, as quickly as we can. But the goal is to go away from that. It's like, hey, let's have a drink to enjoy each other's company. Let's learn about whiskey. Like, why are there different notes and different, different notes on your nose and different tastes on your palate? So we want to change the stigma around that. But then when someone doesn't drink, I have how I approach them. And well, we offer non-alcoholic options. And we have events where there's no alcohol involved. We have once a month a coffee with Whiskey Valor at our local Black Rifle Coffee Company, where we get together. Actually, tomorrow morning I'll be there at 1. We get coffee, we just talk and share stories, share resources, and it's been very impactful because it allows people to come to an event without alcohol if they're feeling on the fence about being around it.
I love that, and like you said, there's oh, it's starting to echo a little bit there. I hear myself. Sorry. But where do you go about finding the folks that are attending and you're meeting with? Obviously, as a new organization, you relocated not that long ago. You're in a new place. How do you go about finding the people that need you the most? And how do you make contact, or how do they make contact with you? How do they know about what you've got going on, when you're so new to the community?
Yeah, so social media has been probably our best friend there, but our connections we have with other nonprofit organizations, they've been kind enough to allow us to attend some of their events and have a booth. Most recently, Travis Manning Foundation had their 9/11 Heroes Run series throughout the U.S. We attended Cleveland, Ohio, Northern Virginia, Quantico, and Annapolis. And they allowed us to come there, have a booth, talk to service members. And when you have an organization like that who has a reputation and you're at their event, it kind of gives you a little bit of, oh, hey, if they allow them here, they should be at least okay to talk to, right? And then, that gets us the kind of the foot in the door of like, hey, you can trust us. And then we start building conversation. And then been fortunate enough that the people in my network have gone to bat to vouch for what we're doing. And like, hey, it's not just alcohol. I've been to events. They allow families to come. They have food for us. And if someone's had one too many, Luis offers to pay for their Uber, right? Like, it's one of those things that the people who are attending, their reviews amongst their friends is what's helping us, I think, to get to the next level as we continue to grow.
I love that. And it's so cool how a grassroots campaign can take off like that, and just networking throughout and knowing the right people to be able to reach out to that are in that same mindset and want to help. And that's awesome. So in this next question, I have to ask, because you just mentioned multiple locations that you were at. Mm-hmm. You're still a small team. So how do you help someone out that's in Cleveland, Ohio, when you're in Virginia? Or, have you got people in place to that level yet? Or what does that look like?
No, we're not to that level yet, unfortunately. Majority of what we're doing is in Northern Virginia. I'm in Fredericksburg. So we're about an hour south without traffic south of DC. Yep. So a lot of the impact we're doing is here. We're starting to go to these, outside of the area events to spread our name. But I'm a firm believer in taking care of home first before I go out. So we're starting to do more projects here. We just partnered. We'll probably have to send the posts, probably tomorrow with our Fredericksburg Regional Food Bank and learning about how they're struggling to get turkeys for the holiday time. So we're going to do a turkey drive to help them find turkeys. And unfortunately, the veteran community and active community, they deal with food insecurity. So we're not only helping our local community, we're helping our fellow brothers and sisters in arms. And they're not a veteran serving organization, so a lot of vets tend to stay away. But so we're hoping to be that catalyst of like, hey, they're okay. We work with them. We're vets. We trust them. You can come through us, and we'll get you what you need. So at the end of the day, we just want veterans to be helped. We don't care who's doing it, as long as the veterans getting the help they need.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so cool. And I understand again what you're saying there. You know, sometimes veterans are hesitant to try to mingle into a new community that they don't feel comfortable with, and being that catalyst that could change a lot of lives without even actually doing what you're setting out to do. So that's pretty awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the future. We've kind of gone through the last year, the foundation, of the foundation, how you're getting, people involved, how you're getting the name out there. So let's talk about growth. What do you think for the next 3, 5, 10 years? What's your game plan looking like to be able to help more people, to scale to a certain level? And, how many states ultimately are you looking to be in?
Yes, sir. So I'll start like a couple months and we'll work out to that 10-year plan. So in December, we're launching a hero workout series or warrior series. We're still working the name, but we've partnered with a local veteran-owned gym. And the goal of that, one of our pillars is wellness. That includes physical fitness, the responsible drinking aspect of it. So we'll have once a month workout at no cost to veterans and community service or community members. Come in, have a good workout, meet your fellow, veterans. We'll invite our fellow nonprofits so they can come in and share their mission, because we're all about collaboration. Whiskey Valor might be 20% of your piece of what you need in your life. Well, we want to find that other 80 through our partners and whether it's locally or nationally. So we'll start doing that to get people in shape, because I need to lose some weight. From my after service, kept the same eating habits without the workout habits. And then there's also just a lot that it's good for you to be in shape and be around people, build community. So we have that coming up. We have a wellness retreat, which is one of our other big programs, is to send 25 veterans to Colorado, May 31st to June 6th of 2026 at no cost to them. We're doing our fundraising to front that bill, send them out there. And the goal is they leave better than they arrived. And they get to be around fellow veterans who have that common bond of things they went through, and just to kind of just deal with some of their stuff with a great organization that it's called Big Fish Foundation, founded by a retired Marine. They're doing great work out there. So very excited about that partnership and for that to happen. In 5 years, I would love to have a paid staff. I'm hoping to do it sooner, but my goal is at the 5-year mark, we can start paying folks. And then by 10 years, I want to have what we call Whiskey Valor Ranch. So my family and I, we want to buy land. We have our home on there, but we want to build, tiny homes, for a lack of a better term, where we can bring vets in and their families at no cost to them for week retreats, have fun, get away from the world, whether it's they need to talk to a therapist, they need to, do some workouts, whatever it is they need, we're going to put them through stuff for a week. So that way they can get away from it at no cost to them and then go back home. And then have them come back every couple of years just to check on them and make sure they're doing okay.
That's awesome. And I'm absolutely amazed by this conversation, because it's like, wow, this is something that really is going to change a lot of lives for the positive. And having all these connections with all these different foundations and organizations that have the same mindset, the same, kind heart, you guys are going to do a lot for our veteran community, which really I think is totally understated. I can't even say enough how awesome and important that is, and how I still truly believe that our veterans don't get treated the way that they deserve. That's awesome. That's really all I can say. Congratulations. I love the 10-year plan, and I think there's no doubt that it's going to come true. I do want to ask a little bit about some other stuff that's not related to the foundation.
Okay.
If anybody's watching this, if they know somebody that maybe could be affected, that could be someone that would, be your ideal person to reach out to and help, or somebody that's watching this is interested in maybe helping you with the foundation through sponsorship or whatever you may have, what are some ways that folks can find the organization, can reach out to you personally? And, are you taking meetings like that?
Oh, yes. So I will give out my personal email for Whiskey Valor, Luis, Luis, at whiskeyvalor.org, WHISKEYVALOR.org. Please reach out to me directly. I have people who do it all the time. Sometimes it's like, I don't know why they sent this. They're trying to just get a bunch of money from us. But I have people who shoot us ideas. I like to think smart guy. I know what people want, but I don't have all the answers. And whenever we do have events, I always ask veterans, like, okay, what more can we be doing, or what else should we be doing? Because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for the veteran that's sitting next to me, or the veteran on the other side of the room. So we're always trying to do different things. For example, we're doing a cornhole tournament because one of the vets like, hey, it'd be cool if we play cornhole. So I was like, all right, that's an easy ask. Let's do that. So there's the email on Instagram. We're at Whiskey Valor. Facebook, if you look up Whiskey Valor Foundation. On LinkedIn, we're Whiskey Valor Foundation as well. And we have a website, whiskeyvalor.org. We are going through it. We're all volunteer staff, so there's some love that needs to be, massaged a little bit. We're still working on it. But if you ever have questions, shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer them via response, or we can set up a call just to talk, any questions or concerns you may have about the work we're doing.
I love that. And I hope that someone reaches out from this episode, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I've got some pretty awesome friends that this hits home for a lot of people in the roofing world. So I think it's a great partnership opportunity for some of my buddies out there. So definitely, do what you got to do, fellas.
You mind if I add one thing, Chuck?
Absolutely.
So one thing we are working on, so if there are any businesses out there, we haven't done it yet, but what we call our barrel club. And so we're looking to partner with companies that want to donate to pay for the barrel. They'll get their name on the barrel. We do custom challenge coins, so it'll be featured on that. But what's great is they essentially front that cost from us. So whenever we sell it, we get all the money back to go towards our mission. And also it's a great marketing to have your company's name on a bottle of whiskey going towards our mission, right? So that's one thing we're developing. We're still trying to find partners to do it. And I think once the first company does it, I think others will start coming in. But that's one of the other things we're working out in the background.
I love that. And this is going to be it's relative to what we're talking about, but not so much to deal with your foundation anymore. I'd like to ask you a personal question. Tell me a little bit about, I know that's not a question, but your affinity for whiskey. I'm looking at all these bottles behind you. You started an organization that's specific to whiskey. So tell me a little bit about why whiskey is your thing and how this love came about.
Yeah. So when I was a young Marine, it was like Jack and Coke, so I wouldn't call myself a whiskey connoisseur by any means. But it was around, I think, 2022, just when like the world started opening back up, after COVID. The Pat Tillman Foundation took out a bunch of their scholars to Louisville, Kentucky, for a wellness retreat. And so as I'm, searching, because I was fortunate to be selected to go on the trip, what is Louisville known for? Bourbon capital, of the world. I was like, okay, well, let's look into this. I like whiskey. And I watched a documentary called Neat. I think it's Neat, the story of bourbon. And I realized it was more than just alcohol. Like there's history, there's legacy, that people put their time, their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And learning about, I used to think, hey, the flavor was just because they added some kind of flavoring into it, but it's the wood, the maturation, time that it takes for all that to happen. And the more I learned about it, kind of like geeked out about it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm a whiskey guy now. So started drinking it. This was originally when we moved into this home. There was like one shelf with whiskey, and they were very spread out. We had vodka, we had rum, we had essentially anything you'd want. We had it. Then as time went on, there was whiskey on just this side, and there was everything else here. And then now, if you can kind of see the mess behind me, this is all whiskey. There's nothing but whiskey up here, and to the point where I have to expand my area. So it turned into a hobby. And I've met some amazing people over a pour of whiskey where I'd sit next to a stranger at a tasting. We wouldn't say a word to each other until we nosed and tasted what was in our glass. And so we're talking about what we're tasting, what we're smelling. Then that led to, oh, where are you from? Oh, what do you do? then we realize we have something in common. But if there wasn't this brown liquid in our glass, we would have never had a conversation that led to us developing a friendship. And then some of those friendships, now we spend holidays together, their families come over, we hang out, and it all started over a pour of whiskey.
That's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I always have conversations when I'm drinking whiskey too.
Yeah.
But maybe mine are a little bit different than the ones you're having that are productive and so on. But I love that. And I thought that was such a unique twist to the story. It wasn't just, we're going to bring you beers or whatever. You've got a specific thing. And I think that's unique. I love it. You've got probably it looks like a couple hundred bottles behind you.
Yeah. Last time I checked, we were like around 230, and we've gotten more since then. So I would say about 250 is what we're working with.
All right. So 250 different options. This is the $1 million question, Luis. Which one of those is your go-to? Which one is your favorite out of the 250?
Man, you're going to get me in trouble. I'm trying to partner with some of these people here.
You can have more than one.
Yeah, no. So I like to tell people, I have some whiskey. I'm like, hey, this is the best thing I've ever had in a glass. But sometimes the story or the message behind the bottle is what gets me. I'm a sucker for that. Let me see if I have one here in front of me. This one, Blue Bolt 250. This is actually a barrel pick we did. And Blue Bolt's co-founded by an active duty Marine, Will Malley. He's been a great supporter of ours. They are our charity sponsor for our Marine Corps Marathon team. They paid our entry fee. They've believed in us from the beginning, when no one knew who Whiskey Valor was. But this bottle was great because for that barrel selection, I got to bring guys that I was in the Marine Corps with, guys and women that I went to grad school with on our GI Bills, and then some of my current whiskey friends. So it was like 3 phases of my life over a 12-year period in one room. That led to me getting made fun of, because they all were like, "Oh, did you know about he did this?" Wanted to tell these things. That I was like, "Hey, that's between
all
us."
All your different lives come together at once. Yes,
exactly right. So, it was great because it was just a special bottle to me, and I think maybe that's a sign of me getting older, where I was like, "This is me making it in life, and I can bring my world together, and we can just have a nice pour of whiskey." But not only that, we are using this bottle to buy 25 NCO swords for active duty corporals and sergeants in the Marine Corps. So we partner with 3 active duty Marine owned companies, and they love the idea. And then they were like, how can we help? And we've been working together on this, and we'll probably be handing out our first sword next month around the Marine Corps Marathon time.
That's so cool. I'm having a great conversation here, and I'm loving everything that you got going on. And I do want to ask a little bit. Okay, since you kind of opened the Pandora's box there, you start getting into conversations with various people throughout your life, different new friends that you make, older friends, and now you've got this common bond. Tell me a little bit about the camaraderie that comes with that. I mean, you meet people from your past, and you may not have even realized that you guys would ever have this common situation again, where you guys like to drink whiskey together. Mm-hmm. What's it like, kind of, putting all those three different lives together and seeing what happens?
It's great. Me and my buddy, his name's Bloomfield, best friend from the Marine Corps. We get together when we were young. We were drinking as much as we can, as quickly as we can, right? And making some not so good decisions. Never, did anything crazy. But now we're sitting there, and it's great because I'm teaching him about whiskey. And so and then every time we meet up, he's done stuff. I can tell he's doing research on his own, because he'll say something. I'm like, how did you know? He goes, hey, I didn't want to be like the guy that didn't know anything. So I've been doing some research on my own. But it's cool because it's a new talking point for us. And I think you really show true friendship when there's something you're so passionate about, and your friends are doing things behind the scenes without you knowing to help you be successful. And they've all, not just him, but several others that aren't necessarily whiskey drinkers, are learning so they can at least have a say in the conversation when we're talking about it. But the fact that they're opening up their networks and like, hey, I went to an event, I thought they were just going to get drunk, but I met someone who's helping me with my career or helping me with this thing. And people quickly realize we're having genuine conversations, and we all have a lot more in common than we initially thought. But the whiskey's that, as I mentioned before, is that thing that brings us together and kind of allows those more impactful conversations to have.
Yes, sir. I love that. It's just a sense of community, and you never know who you're going to find and who you're going to run into and realize, hey, we can all share something here together, and life isn't really all that bad. You turn on the TV and sometimes they tell you, I think yesterday the world was supposed to end is what I heard on TV. And it's like, that's one of the better news stories. So to be able to put a community together and actually have people that just sit down and talk and still have that one-on-one interaction with each other is a thing of beauty. And the people that you're doing it with really benefit the most. So I can't say enough, Luis, how remarkable this is. Kudos to you. I'm proud to have you on my podcast to even talk about it. And I definitely want to invite you back sometime, maybe a year or two down the road when things get even more, established and you become a name. And who knows, maybe one day there'll be a Rio Blanco roofing bottle or something like that we can commemorate together. But I love everything about what you're doing. I appreciate you being here with me on Keepin It Rio. It is echoing pretty bad in my ears, so I hope it's not echoing towards you. But I appreciate that. Before we go, I always love to ask one final thing to my guests. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience that we haven't discussed? And then I'm going to do a little shout out to my sponsor after that. But the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, if you're a veteran, find your community. It doesn't have to be Whiskey Valor. There's 40,000 veteran serving organizations out there. There's one for you. And if there isn't, do what I did, create your own, and you can find your own community that way. And if you're not in the veteran space, you're a civilian, don't be scared to come talk to us. Too often we have civilians that come to our events. We welcome them at ours. And they're like, oh, I thought you guys wouldn't like me here. And it's like, no, like you're a person, just come hang out. Let's have a good time. So, get to know your veterans. I'm a firm believer. If we want advocacy in the veteran and military space, we have to have the civilian populace on our side. So go talk to your veterans, learn what's happening in their life, what they need help with, and be an advocate for us. And so we can make sure everybody's getting what they need in life.
There you go, folks. It's really that simple, and I think that's a message that needed to be heard by a lot of folks. So thank you for bringing it, Luis. I appreciate you. Before we bid adieu to our crowd, this is the weekly thing that I love to do the most, which is a shout out to my sponsors. I think I just briefly explained to you that my sponsor is roofer.com. And anybody that's at roofing, if you're not using Roofer by now, I don't know what's wrong with you because I say it every week. But Roofer is a cool program that was designed for roofers by actual roofers. And basically, it started out about 8-9 years ago as a measuring tool where they take an aerial satellite measurement and they can measure a roof out. And it's evolved now to the point where they've got a full-scale CRM. I take my customers from the very first initial contact all the way through the entire process of getting their roof replaced. We order our materials from there. We put our work orders together for the crews. We send all of our proposals out. They get signed electronically. We do the job. We get paid at the end. They've got payment links and such. And then a year later, they remind people to give us a call and get their general maintenance done on their roof. So shout out to Roofer. You guys know I love you. They've been my sponsor for 3 years now. And hopefully that's 3 of 30 that we've got left in us. So appreciate Roofer. I appreciate everybody that watches Keepin It Rio. This is a cool program. I love doing it. 4.5 years. I still get to talk to some of the coolest people in the world. And I'm grateful to everybody who ever wants to be on the show or is willing to chat with me, because you guys know I'm willing to chat. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we call it a day by simply saying, keep on keeping it Rio. Luis, stick around for just a second after I play this ad for my loving sponsor, and you and I can end our conversation on the backside.
You mind if I had one last thing, Chuck?
Please do.
Dude, I'm not in the roofing company, but if I was, I don't get anything from Roofer, I'd sign up right now. That sounds like they're taking all the difficult stuff out of the way so you can focus on roofing.
That's exactly right. I'm not a smart man, and it makes me look smart. So shout out to Roofer. Here comes their ad, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
We're Roofer. We know that managing a roofing business can be chaotic, so we created a single platform with all the tools you need to easily run your roofing business. Stop switching between multiple different softwares and experience streamlined operations from lead to payment in hours instead of days. Visit roofr.com to get started for free today.